How many supervisors are there?
I think we have probably 50 supervisors. Again, I'd have to check.
And what's the total number of cases that you will go through? Not only you have 270 agents. What are the total number of cases that they're going to go through in a year, this year projected?
Okay. We're going to go through 29,000. Again, these are estimates. I can certainly follow up with this. 29,000 credible fear cases we're going to go through, and then in addition to that, we're going to go through maybe, I would say, 30,000 affirmative requests, 25,000 to 30,000 affirmative requests.
So those 270 people are going to essentially go through 59,000 requests. Is that fair to say?
Yes, the cumulative.
And the 59,000 cases are going to be 100% reviewed by 50 people?
Correct.
How much time does that give each supervisor to go through each case? I mean, basically, they're just looking at the documentation, right?
They focus very much on the assessment, which
How much time does each supervisor spend on each case?
Okay, a supervisor supervises roughly 6 individual asylum officers. Asylum officers adjudicate approximately 9 cases a week, so that's 50 cases a week a supervisor is.
But you have 50 people supervising 59,000 cases, of which how many fraud investigators do you have?
We have 2 FDNS officers at each asylum office. I think the Los Angeles office has 3. So we've got 8 asylum officers, so we probably have 17 FDNS officers. Again, I'd check the record on this if
So you have 17 fraud investigators going through 59,000 cases, in addition to the 1,800 cases from just the 2 that I mentioned.
Correct.
How many ongoing fraud investigations do you have at this time?
That number I'll have to provide at a later time. I don't have that number handy.
If you have a guess, what would you guess?
I could not guess. But we've had a number of successful prosecutions, and we have.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure. Affirmative cases, you said that 45% approved, 55% are due for removal. These cases, are they immediately removed? I mean, if you came from Romania, for instance, and you were ordered to be removed, what would happen to you?
Okay. Individuals that we place into removal proceedings get a de novo hearing in front of an immigration judge on that asylum request.
And how long does it take to actually get before a judge? So they're released on their own recognizance. They're said, hey, you can go, show up at this court date.
Okay. In the affirmative context, the individuals are not detained. In the credible fear context, individuals are detained when we issue the credible fear decision. So in the affirmative context, it varies from locality to locality how long the hearing is.
Okay, so when I hear that the Phoenix cases, that they're going to get a hearing, it's been denied. They said, no, your investigator came to the conclusion this is denied, which happens in 55% of the cases. But they're going to say, well, I'd like a hearing. And that hearing in Phoenix, my understanding, is in 2020. Is that correct?
Again, that statistics, I don't have that. That is the immigration judges and the Department.
Understood. It's outside your lane, but you're directly connected here. So
I have no reason to dispute it.
How many of those people actually show, and you're telling me that I have to go to Department of Justice to find out how many people actually show up? What happens when they don't show up? They've been ordered to be removed. Who's got the jurisdiction? Who has the responsibility to go find? Now we got to go find this person, track them down, and kick them out of the country. Who does that?
That would be ICE.
Why, when I talk to ICE, they say they don't have jurisdiction to do that? Why does that happen?
That I cannot
answer. How many people are on that list that ICE is supposed to remove?
Again, we put these individuals into proceedings. We put them into removal proceedings.
So they deny it. They're denied. 55% of the cases are denied. Then they have to go before a judge. In the meantime, they're here for what could be, in the case of Phoenix, 7 years. What is their status during those 7 years?
Okay. They do not have status during those 7 years.
But they can't apply and get a work card, correct?
If the case is pending over 180 days,
Yes.
okay, they can apply for work authorization. That is why my office,
Who do they apply to work authorization from?
with USCIS,
And how many of those are given out each year? Work authorization forms. You have somebody here, they've been denied, and now we're going to give them a worker card.
technically, what we do is we find them not eligible for approval, and we refer the individual. Their application is still pending in front of an immigration judge when we refer. That's why the clock keeps on ticking on their application. And we have had a very good record of adjudicating our cases within 60 days to give the judges the 120 days on their clock to finish these cases.
And that's one of the concerns that I guess this committee needs to drive into, because you're denying them, they get in another line, we basically shuffle the paperwork over to somebody else, they get free health care, free education, and they get a worker card when they go to work in the United States and compete with an American who is a United States citizen, they're paying their taxes, and they've got to compete with somebody that you've denied. How do we fix this? How do we fix that? What is your recommendation to actually solve that problem?
The Asylum Division has been very successful in adjudicating our cases within a very short time frame. We have recently slipped. We're on track to get back on track due to the hiring of new officers. We're going to train them very well in the coming year, but we will get back on track to our 60 days in order so that they will not get work authorization if we complete the case within 120 days.
But I guess the problem is when they get in this other line like they do in Phoenix, it's going to be 7 years before they get to that case, of which they may or may not ever show up, and then somebody's got to go try to chase these people down. And how would I characterize? Are there hundreds of thousands of people in this category? How many people would fall into this category? Tens of thousands of people?
That would be an immigration court statistic.
You know
however, we do refer approximately 20,000 individuals to the immigration court system a year.
So those numbers are just absolutely stunning. My time has gone by. One last question as we do this. How do you keep track of them in between the time that you say you're denied, but you now need to go to court? Whose responsibility is it to keep track of them in between then and when they actually show up to the judge? How do you do that?
Okay. We've got a very good system to track the case when it's filed with us and then when we file it on the court.
But nobody's paying attention to these people.
The immigration judges have a system in place that is their case management system, as well as the trial attorneys, Office of Principal Legal Advisors in ICE. They also have the A-file and a case management system.
Somehow, some way, this committee is going to find out from the Department of Justice how many of those people are committing crimes, how many of those people who are committing the various crimes that are across the whole spectrum. You can imagine, there's nothing more frustrating. They're here, they've been denied, we're going to give them a court date, but we're going to take years to do it. Nobody's paying any attention to them. So frustrating.